right, Pickle. It's time to take a look at the college football weekend across the Lone Star State. And the way that we're going to do it this year is that instead of going through each and every game, we've got a great podcast for you, Republic of Football. It's great. Now they're putting out 2 podcasts every.
Yeah, they just tweeted out that they're coming for TFT. So
they're doing 3
downloading.
podcasts a week. That's not fair. I didn't authorize this.
You let them off the leash.
Anyway, if you want complete wire-to-wire, tip-to-tail, rooter-to-tutor coverage of college football in the state of Texas,
Mike Craven strikes me as the guy that would love the phrase rooter to tutor.
Republic of Football is your podcast. What we're going to do here is we're going to take the top line thing. And what I want to do is I want to revisit the 5 biggest moments of the college football weekend. Maybe they're plays. Maybe they are things that got fans. Maybe they are bands. Whatever they are, we're going to visit the 5 biggest moments of the college football weekend. Okay? We're going to start with number 5.
Do you want me to play it?
Yeah,
It was interesting. They're certainly clear that Shuck is the guy, but also that these quarterbacks would get an opportunity, but not just kneel down duty at the end. They wanted them to actually show what they could do, and Smith will get a chance. Collapsing defense, walk it in for 6. Easy money for the Red Raiders, and they build on their lead. Jaron Bradley.
It's Donovan Smith's first touchdown pass for Texas Tech against Murray State. And why is this a big deal? So the game between Tech and Murray State was not particularly competitive. Texas Tech put a hurt into them in the way that I would say you would want to see an FBS team like Texas Tech, and especially a team that has not always taken care of their business against teams that they're better than, right? They went out there and took care of business against Murray State. They were every bit the part of the aggressor here. They look great. The reason I chose that moment is because that was right after Tyler Shuck, their quarterback, went down with injury. Our Mike Craven is reporting that Tyler Shuck will be out at least the next 2 weeks, which includes this week against Houston. Donovan Smith was then pressed into duty. Now, we've been hearing a lot about the quarterback competition out there at Texas Tech, but you never know when the backup comes in. But that touchdown pass there to Jaron Bradley, to SotoZone, I think is very good news for Texas Tech fans. He goes 14 of 16, 221 yards, and 4 touchdowns passing. Looks super sharp.
If nothing else, it was a very quick way for people to take a little bit of a deep breath, which was needed.
That when the quarterback goes down, everyone's like, oh, no, what's going to happen?
Because real fast, if you remember back to last year, he was out. He got injured and was out the rest of the year.
Yes.
So this is like one of those, oh, here we go again moments.
But I think Donovan Smith coming in and immediately saying, hey, you know what? We're good. I got this thing.
Yeah,
and looking very good in their win over Murray State. I thought that was a very big moment for Texas Tech this week. Let's roll on to number 4.
On first down. Off the penalty. Here's Ani. Here's Burns. Got the catch. Ball's out. Had the momentum for the first down, but before he came down, the ball's out, and SMU's got it.
SMU's forced fumble against North Texas in the first quarter of the game. Okay. And this is the kind of thing that I want to do is I want to dive into what the real key moments here were. So SMU, if you weren't watching that game, SMU had taken the league. It's kind of been a feeling out process in the first couple of possessions and things like that, but they'd just taken the lead. They had they traded punts, and then SMU goes on a 13-play touchdown drive that ends up with Tanner Mordecai to Jeremy Carley, maybe I think it is, for the touchdown. Okay. Looked every bit the part. Looked great. At that point, North Texas kind of starts to drive the ball a little bit.
I was going to say, they were moving really fast. There was no huddle up.
There's no huddle.
They were going.
This looked like, here we come.
They got about 40 yards in
it's
the
gonna
span
come,
of less than like
it's going to
a
come
minute.
back to back. Right. They start on their 25, and then suddenly, like 4 plays later, after converting a 4th down,
it was quick.
They're right there on the SMU 41, looking pretty good. That is when Austin Ani found Roderick Burns on a bit of a seam powder, and you're going, okay, here they come. SMU rips the ball out. Nick Roberts falls on it. 5 plays later, it's 14-0.
And I can
that
tell
was,
you,
and at that point, it was a missed field goal for North Texas, and in my opinion, the game was over.
Yeah, the morale in the stadium when that drive didn't end up in any sort of a score went pew.
I thought that was the critical moment that it could have gone either way. You never know how the rest of that game is going to play out if North Texas is able to go down and score the touchdown. But What happened there was the whole thing shifted.
Yes.
Because at that point, you stop their drive, and 5 plays later, you're in the end zone. 14-0. At that point, North Texas got to go, well, what are we going to do here? So I was huge for SMU to really take command of this game. Number 3.
Gibson, speed sweep, wanting the wheel route. Instead, underneath, Wetman at the 5, walks it into the end zone. Touchdown, Lumberjacks. Mo Wetman.
How about this one? How about Stephen F. Austin's go-ahead touchdown against Alcorn State? This might have flown under your radar, and it's okay if it did, but this was a huge, huge win for Stephen F. Austin to avoid 0-2. They're going on the road to play Alcorn State, who is a big-time contender. They're a big-time contender among the I believe are they in the SWAC? Yeah, they're in the SWAC, right? They're big-time contender. They hadn't lost at home in quite a while. And meanwhile, at that point, going into that drive, you're talking about a team in Stephen F. Austin who we think have legit state champion or national championship aspirations that's staring 0-2 in the face. And like for a program that you got to make it at a level where you got to make the playoffs, 0-2 is not a great way to start that. Okay? They trailed 24-10 at halftime in this game. But with 2 minutes and 22 seconds left, they were down 27-24 when Trey Self found Mo Wetman on that really beautiful kind of misdirection play. They faked it. Basically, the play was designed that they were going to fake to the wheel route, and instead, guy comes right underneath and he's untouched in Mo Wetman. They end up getting an interception to hold on and win the game. I think that's huge. I don't want to say that's a season-saving play because there's a lot of football left to go.
But it's a good start.
But for SFA to avoid that 0-2 start, I thought that was really important for them. And I thought that touchdown against Alcorn State was particularly impressive. So that is number 3. Number 2.
He is a dangerous return man. He returned 100 yards, a kick return last season against West Virginia. Standing at his own 35. Makes the catch at his own 40. Davis. He's got a line. Davis down the sideline with the speed. Davis is going to go all the way.
Darius Davis's 60-yard punt return for a touchdown for TCU in the second quarter of their game at Colorado. So this game in the first half was, how do I put this in a way that is professional? But.
It was very bad.
It was quite but, is what it was. These two teams, the first possessions in these games were downs, punt, field goal, punt. It was ugly. It was
Very
real ugly. Okay? At which point, they're in the second quarter, goes kind of, if this was right after there, TCU is able to they're down 3-0. They're able to get Colorado off the field. That's when Darius Davis takes that punt return back for a touchdown.
I watched that live with our Bally producer, Brian Smith, who is a TCU grad, and that's when he finally went, oh my God, finally something. Like it was the meme of do something.
The offense had really been stuck in the mud.
It was really bad.
They needed a jolt. Now, and that really changed the game because they didn't score for the rest of the half, go 7-6 in a halftime, right? 7-6. But they turned it on in the second half, and they outscored them, the rest of the way. And they drilled them. They went touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown. Their possessions after halftime. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown, 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 end of game. Perfect.
Great.
And really, they needed that spark to get them out of the mud, and I think Darius Davis provided that for their with that.
Chandler Morris went down too.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big blow that had happened, and they responded well to that.
You're right, but at the same time, I would say that having a guy, back there that you can rely on.
Oh yeah, Old Faithful came in, and there was no issue. But just from a morale standpoint on the sideline, they needed that jolt of energy back into him, and that's what Darius Davis did.
Darius Davis gave it to him. But it wasn't the biggest moment of the weekend. Number 1.
2. Get it off cleanly. Blitz comes. He's flushed and looking and scrambling and leaping. It is in! Wow! Clayton Tune up and away. And Houston has the first 2-point conversion.
Clayton Tune's tumble into the end zone for the 2-point conversion in the third overtime against UTSA. That was a wild game.
It was.
You can listen to the full recap on Republic of Football because both Mike Craven and Mallory Hartley were there.
Mm-hmm. Mallory said she went down on the sideline at the first overtime, so she was right down there for all of it.
So that game was crazy because first half, UTSA kind of looks like they're going to go and run away with it. And they look like they are the better team, and Houston doesn't know what they're doing. Houston comes out in the second half, much calmer. Everything feels a lot better. They settle into this game. They score. They kick that field goal with like 22 seconds left, and you're going, well, going to win. Going to escape.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Harris marches them down the field, gets the game-winning field goal as time expires, and suddenly we're going to overtime.
Yep.
They trade overtime scores, trade overtime scores, trade overtime scores. So then they get to the third overtime where you have to exchange 2-point conversions. Now I don't know how you feel about that. How do you feel about the 2-point conversion overtime?
I'm fine with that personally. Like in my mind, if you are already at a third overtime, let's go. Yeah. Like it's time to show something.
And so on that play, UTSA sends the blitz, and it becomes very apparent very early to Clayton Tune, give him credit for recognizing it. I'm going to have to do this myself. It's going to have to be me. He still keeps his eyes downfield, but it's going to have to be me. This is think about what we're talking about with this Houston program. There's a Houston program that lost their season opener last year to Texas Tech, and everyone wondered where they're going to fire Daniel Holgorsen.
Yep.
It really kind of cut the legs out from underneath what could have been a special season, considering what happened after that. There's a Houston program we think can make it to the college football playoff this year. We think they can go undefeated as American Athletic Conference champions. Mm-hmm. But at that moment, I imagine whenever they're kicking that field goal, UTSA kicking that field goal to go to overtime, they're thinking, here we go again. We're going to spit the bit in week 1, and all of our college football playoff dreams are getting dashed in week 1.
Because they were already ranked 24 in the preseason AP poll.
In week 1.
So
it's over
at that point, you're done. You're out.
And Clayton Tune turns the corner and goes airborne in for the score. If they make the playoff, which is a long way away, and they've got some important fixes to make.
Yep.
But if Houston lives up to the place of their paper and they make it to the college football playoff, we're going to look back on that play, on that Clayton Tune conversion in triple overtime, and we're going to say that's where it all started.
Yep.
It was right there. That was the moment that it kicked off that run.
Especially senior leadership, putting that on your back in week 1 says everything.
Absolutely. So there you have it. The 5 biggest moments from the college football weekend. We'll have it every Tuesday here on Texas Football Today.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.